Good evening. This is Tony, and we are going to look at installing Harpoon Classic, also known as Harpoon Ultimate Commander's Edition. In my virtual machine here, I have the DVD drive mounted, so I'm going to go ahead and go in there and kick off the setup. So that will be running the exe or the application file. This is going to chunk away for a while as it reads through all these big files. This has a number of different Harpoon versions within this installer, and eventually we will be able to do something nice. So I'm just going to pause this for the moment until the next screen comes up. I did end up pausing that for a little bit. Now we see the initial welcome screen come up. I'm going to go ahead and click next. You can put in a name or a company or both, obviously. I'm going to agree to all the terms. I'm going to pop in a serial number here, so I'm going to pause the recording while I pop that in and click next. All right, the next screen allows me to select which main versions of the game I want to install. For this video, I'm only concerned about the Commander's Edition, also known as Harpoon Classic. Select that one only, and I click next. This is actually just grabbing the installer for Harpoon Classic, so it's extracting it from this larger installer. Once that is complete, then I'll actually run the installer for Harpoon Classic. Again, I'm going to pause the video here while this does its extraction. And we are back. This extraction is just about complete. This is extracting the Harpoon Classic installer from the Harpoon Ultimate Edition installer. All right, now we are finally installing the Harpoon Classic, also known as Harpoon Ultimate Commander's Edition or Harpoon Commander's Edition, or lots of other names it has had. I tend to call it Harpoon Classic. I'm going to go ahead and click next on this first dialog. It's going to ask me where I want to install. In this case, I'm okay with the default. Where I normally install is in C Games, and then just HC for Harpoon Classic. But we will go ahead and go back to the default location of C Matrix Games, Harpoon Ultimate Commander's Edition. Go ahead and click next to start the actual install of the game. You see that it requires 2.47 gigabytes of space, quite a bit for a 30-year-old game, but it is going to be installing a bunch of artwork, which you can delete when you're done if you'd like to. Where should we save the shortcuts? I'm happy with the defaults. I don't use the shortcuts anyway. Keep going ahead and clicking next until we get to the install rolling. So I'm going to go ahead and copy files for a while. I'm going to pause the recording once again until this is complete or nearly complete. All right, those files are getting close to being copied. So we're going to flip back there and watch those last few files flip off. All right, now it is installing many different older versions of Harpoon. Since this was built originally for the 20th anniversary edition, we went for 20 different versions of Harpoon Classic. So I'm going to pause this again. Be back shortly. All right, and once again, we are finishing up on the previous Harpoon Classic versions from the Harpoon Classic 20th Anniversary Edition. All right, now that the install is done, I'll go ahead and click Finish. And that shell installer that says we're done as well. Okay, I can finally hop on back to my computer and see that now I have HUCE, and then I will see all of the different files within there. There is a magical file within here called releasenotes.txt. This will show you essentially the release notes for most of history. This is going to indicate that, all right, I probably have version 2009.050 installed, better known as a build. I can also get that information by hovering over the game engine, also known as WinHarp32. This is the main game. It says obviously file version 2009.050. If we are looking at the Harp Gamer site, I'll pull that up. This is a site that Brad and I take care of. It was formed by 4 of us community members back in the day when Harpoon Classic Gold was coming out essentially in 2003. And I'm going to hop on over to the beta testing general forum and take a look here at the instructions for the current files. Lo and behold, what do they say? But start with your 2015.027 patched version from Matrix Games. So what I've done in another browser tab is I have gone to Matrix Game, pulled up the product page, and then we have some downloads here, one of those being the 2015.027 patch. So I'm going to download that. It's going to come off of an FTP site. It's going to download pretty quick. I will go ahead and run that once it's downloaded. All right, that's a zip file. So within that zip file, I'm going to find an exe file, version 2015.027. So I'm going to double click on that to run it. It's going to extract it and then run that installer. Yes, we see version 2015.027. Yes, I agree to the terms. And you just saw my serial number, so I'm going to have to clear that out. I have to fix the path here since it looked in the registry to get the previous installed path. So I'm going to fix it to Matrix Games, Harpoon Classic, Harpoon Ultimate Commanders Edition. Another good way to do that is to actually navigate to the existing directory. Click next to install that. Keeps cranking along. It does the install pretty quickly in this case. It's a lot fewer files, a lot smaller files. It's only updating the Harpoon Ultimate Commanders Edition. There's this Visual C++ redistributable. We don't really care about that on Windows 10. It's pretty much already going to be installed. For the heck of it, I'm going to go ahead and let it think that it's going to install anyway. Obviously, it goes super quick, so it's not actually needing to happen. And once again, we're finished. All right, so now we have version 2015.027. I should be able to come into this release notes.txt file, and I see, of course, 2015.027. Fantastic, so that patch actually installed. I don't see a backup folder yet because that was a installer from Matrix Games rather than one of our installers from Harp Gamer. Our Harp Gamer installers make backups of files before they're replaced. All right, back to our beta testing current files. We see that, okay, now we need to apply 2018.002. I'm going to click on that, and oh no, the attachment's not available. All right. Let's see if signing in helps. It really shouldn't, but all right, and I don't know my password, so that's not going to help us either. I'll put this on pause. All right, I am logged in again. You shouldn't need to be logged in order to download these files. I also did a forum software update tonight, so perhaps there's a problem there. Anyway, downloading this installer. Again, it's a zip file, so once it is done downloading, you should be able to open the zip file. Within that is going to be the executable installer. And double click on that. I want to be really careful in this first one to make sure that it's going to install to the same path where Harpoon Classic is already installed. All right, I get the fancy message here from Windows warning me about this. It's an unknown publisher. Most of the more recent installers I do sign with an encryption certificate for TGP Enterprises, but this one didn't have that, so I'm going to run anyway since I trust this file. installer will eventually come up here. All right, so wants to do 2018.002 for the build. Click next on the release notes. You say, all right, this looks like the right path. I'm going to go ahead and double check that. Yep, looks good. Click next through as it does its installs. This particular update was a fairly big one. It actually changed the format of the database files. We're seeing here that, all right, looks like we are making backups. And yes, the installers that we have in Harp Gamer do back up the files that are being replaced. In most cases, we can start the game right from there. I'm going to choose not to do that in this case, but I'm going to flip back again, reinforce this concept of, all right, I can look at the release notes file and get a concept of which build I'm running. And once again, it worked. We're running 2018.002. You also notice an additional file down here. This is a 32-bit scenario editor so that we no longer need to run a 32-bit version of Windows in order to run the scenario editor. You can run wsynedit32.exe on a 64-bit version of Windows without any special virtualization or other pieces of software. You see in these newer ones, we're going to put the build number up in the title bar. And if you are in a battle set that's called a common DB battle set, you'll see the version and name of the battle set. So anything EC 2003 or newer meaning anything further down in this list, these are all going to use the common DB battle set, except for the US Naval Institute, which has a battle set embedded within it. All right, so you see I switched to a common DB battle set. And now it's going to show us what database is loaded. Currently I have the HCDB from 2015. That's the one maintained by Brad Lady. Anyway, that was a detour. We're also going to take a quick peek at that backups folder. It's going to show us the files that were replaced with this patch, just in case we want to get back to that at some point, do some additional troubleshooting. And these instructions say also to apply 2009.002. So I'm going to download that file. Same deal, it's a zip file. Open it up, run the installer. This one's a lot smaller. It only has the game engine and the scenario editor. And I'm going to do the same thing here. Make sure that the path is correct, and it is Matrix Game, HUCE. It's going to install its files. We now have some additional megabytes of backups, 13 more megabytes of backups. And we will beat this dead horse and take a look at the release notes.txt file. And we see version 2019.002. These release notes are fun for some people. You can read them and see what has changed with each build. Here we see, all right, we fixed an issue that Eric found, previous builds, fixed some more problems, or did some generic cleanup. Sometimes I add features. All right, so now we have our game patched up to the current beta version. We want to now grab ourselves a scenario file to play. And in this case, we're going to look for Porter. See what our search gives us on the Harp Gamer site. Oh, of course, it didn't find anything. All right, here we go. The file, download from Enrique, Porter in the Mediterranean battle set. All right, so this says, it has a number of tags at the top. It says, all right, you want to use the HCDB2 database rather than HCDB. You need to have a fairly recent version of the game. All right, so we're going to go ahead and hop over to the download for this game. All right, now we have the scenario listing here. I'm going to download this file. You can save it anywhere you want. I'm just going to open that file. There are lots of ways to organize your files, your scenario files, your database files. This is going to be the most simple introduction. So we're just going to go ahead and copy those three, flip back over to our game directory, and paste them in. All right, now I have my 3 Porter files. BLO is orders for the blue side, RDO is orders for the red side, and then SCO is the actual scenario file. All right, we have the scenario file now, but we need that database. Again, it says you need to use HCDB2 from 2017, March 26th or newer. So now we have to go find that. And where do we want to search? I really just want to search files, but we're going to give this a shot and see what we get. All right, HCDB2 from 2017, posted up by Brad. All right, so I'm going to download that. Again, it's a zip file. I'm going to open it. And I'm going to copy these 2 files. I'm going to paste them into my game directory. All right, this feels really horrible. It says, all right, you're going to replace a file that's already there. So replacing the HCDB file with an HCDB2 one. Some of the original battle set scenarios will not run correctly with HCDB2, but there's a little hack here in that there's a commondb.back folder. Within there is going to be a copy of HCDB. So if you needed to get back to your original HCDB, you could just copy this commondb.res file back out into your main game directory, and that would then overwrite the HCDB2 file. As well, you can download HCDB off of the Harp Gamer website. All right, now we have our scenario, we have our database, and we have our patched game. So I'm going to run the game engine, otherwise known as WinHarp32.exe. You can get some warnings here that we're using the debug version. No, we have a serial number problem. All right, so I'm going to pause this video recording and fix that up. Now when I launch the game, I'm going to find that I'm taken directly into scenario. This is not what we're looking for here. So I'm going to go back to the file menu and new, and then yes, I want to quit that game. At this battle set selector, you will have a checkbox called Enable Instant Action. We want to uncheck that so you're not tossed into a scenario when you start the game. You'll instead be brought to this battle set selector screen. Right, I know that the scenario that we're after, Porter, is in the Mediterranean battle set of EC 2003. Since the scenario download showed that, I'm going to select that and click OK. Now I want to load a user scenario, and I'll find my Porter scenario. Go ahead and open that up. Select your initial settings. I like to skip the auto formation air patrols, and we should probably look at that scenario and see if we're supposed to play it as the red side or the blue side. All right, so Enrique said we should play this from the blue side. Go ahead and click OK. And we are shown the initial orders. And our scenario should load up here. All right, it loads up. Pretty ugly land here, so I'm going to go into settings, game options, and switch over to gray for my land colors. And that helps clear the picture up quite a bit. All right, and that is how you load a user scenario. Down at the bottom here, you're going to see some potentially annoying information. So I'm going to show you how to get rid of that. Go ahead and close the game. And back to your game directory, and you'll find an export DLLs directory here. Within there, there's a digital military art.dll. That's the one at the bottom of the screen there. Rename that to .back, and then run the game again, and you'll see that that bar along the bottom is now gone.